Hey guys, this is Jean. Welcome to SketchaLona, my weekly vlog. In this week's episode, the hair gets the chop. We trade the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona for the canals of Amsterdam, and I give you the massive update I promised on my sci-fi comic book story Fosphor, as well as showing you a little bit of the going-ons in my sketchbook as per usual. So with that, let's get going and get the show on the road. Made it to the airport. It's time for a little trip back to Amsterdam. Back in Amsterdam, guys. It's time to make my way to the center proper, meet up with a friend, and then hopefully get a little shawarma, because some proper Amsterdam shawarma or kapsalon is just what I need. So 20 years ago, this used to be my home, Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands, my hometown just being 20 minutes outside. I got to live here for a good 6 years, and I would say it was pretty much the time of my life. And I ended up working in a little theater company as a waiter called Boom Chicago. And this weekend happens to be their big 25-year reunion where they get to perform in the Royal Theatre of Carré, while I get to hang out with all my colleagues and co-workers from back in the day, and of course get my koffie verkeerd, as we call a latte, in one of the typical Amsterdam bruin cafes while doodling on my sketchbook, as I'm wont to do. So you can imagine when you have a reunion that spans 25 years, and me having spent a couple of years working at this theater, it was quite the overwhelming experience this weekend. On Friday, I met up with one of my friends, Michelle, and Andrea, one of my best friends from Colombia, who's now living in Amsterdam as well, whose apartment I'm looking after in Barcelona. And we were just walking around, discovered more people who had worked with us there, and who didn't even know about this party, which was completely random. End up going around the corners, finding friends, managing bars, and just walking in and saying hi. And then the reunion itself, where literally from the start of the evening at the theater till 6 o'clock in the morning at the actual Boom Chicago Theater, it was just one friendly face after the other. And as my good friend Jamie Wright put it, it's like speed dating with people you already love. So yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. So a funny story. On Monday I was supposed to fly back, and I noticed the flight kept getting pushed back, which is of course unfortunate, but it can happen. It's a very busy airport here in Amsterdam, and it went from 3:30 to 4 to 5 to 6, and then eventually I was walking around as much as I was just on the phone to my girlfriend over in Manila, and it said cancelled, and I freaked out, and I was like, oh my god. It's the reputation I'm flying with, and I booked through Expedia, but the reputation of the airline I'm flying with in the last couple of years has gone a little. They tend to cancel, and they've been fined millions so many times, so I was a little concerned. So I had only myself to blame for flying with them, and so there I was looking for the right desk with hundreds and hundreds of people, trying to make my way back to Barcelona, and the people all around me, they were supposed to go to weddings and to Valencia and like other places. And then I thought like, wait a minute, this isn't just my plane. This is like all their flights to Spain. Got on the phone to like on WhatsApp to one of my managers, and then eventually got a response saying that she was stuck in Germany, also trying to get back to Barcelona, and also not able to fly back. Which is funny because, you know, got to joke with her a little bit about like, does she have to make up for lost time as well, or is that just us lowly employees? But yeah, so standing in line like at a desk manned by like 2 people while there's hundreds of people trying to keep their cool, trying to figure out like what the hell is happening, and trying to find accommodation and like their next flight. I noticed that my app said my flight was in 3 days, so they just updated my app and my boarding pass from Monday to Thursday. Now luckily, of course, I'm from here, got on the phone to my friends before the battery completely died, and had a place to stay, and spent the last 2 days, you know, meeting up with as many people as possible. It's all been, you know, in good fun. But today is Wednesday, supposed to fly out tomorrow morning, kind of early, and not a single word from the airline, like no apology, no email, no nothing. So there's this new European legislation that just lets you get your money back. Not quite your money back, like as in the flight, but like you get compensation. You know, like if it's under 1500 kilometers, you get, I think, like 250, and like it ramps up pretty quickly. And like this is like, yeah, it's like my way of like making up for the hours that I'm gonna have to catch up at the office, because, you know, like I just missed 3 full days of work. So luckily they're not too angry with me. But yeah, that's kind of my my little story for this Wednesday on this episode of SketchaLona, you know. Crazy, huh? So I guess I should just count myself lucky. Like maybe it was like a routine check that uncovered some mechanical failings. But if it is a strike, as I suspect, not because it's Spain, but if it is a strike, as I suspect with this company, like they should have seen that strike coming from miles away and not have me go to the airport and waste 7 hours of my life just standing there. Okay, so I was on the phone, but that's not the point. Not the point. It's frustrating. We're just making our way through the medieval section. It's pretty awesome. If you don't mind it, a little too religious from time to time. So one of the reasons I've been dying to come to this museum, the Rijksmuseum, is when I left Amsterdam in about 2003, when I left for London for the first time, this was all being renovated, and it was being renovated for years and years and years. And clearly, it's a complete overhaul. I don't recognize any of the hallways so far. I don't recognize any of the art, except, of course, some of the big ones that we're going to see in a second. And also, it is pretty incredible to see just how many people are now visiting here, because can tell you, it was never this busy when I used to visit now, you know? It's kind of boring, I guess. I mean, I love art, but like, look at the crowds it pulls in now. It's awesome. About $17.50 to get in. I've got about 2 hours to walk around since my friend couldn't make it. Lucky me, so let's have a look around, shall we? So one of the things I always used to hate as a kid coming to this museum with school or otherwise was stuff like this. So there you are, you know, you're a young artist, you're trying to hone your skills, you're never satisfied with the work you put out because you think you're never going to amount to anything. And then you see something like this and you're like, okay, well, that's it. I might as well just quit now. Because this kind of stuff, this kind of realism in paint is just insane, though that is one ugly dog. It was a pretty awesome visit to the little museum. Hope you guys enjoyed tagging along. Maybe this time I'll keep the funny commentary to myself. But look at these beautifully rendered cadavers. Look at these dead animals. So stunning. But, oh, ugly dog. Ugly dog. But here, check this one out. Like 500 years ago. And he's on the wrong layer. Yeah, time to head back into town. See if we can grab another coffee and then head back to my friend's house for a final evening hanging out together. Because tomorrow I'm up early and time to get back to Barcelona. That is, if they don't cancel my flight again. My pride and joy right now. So, this is the plan. This is the sketch. Still very happy with this. It's time to tighten all this up and reproduce it right over here. So this is going to be page 5 eventually. So I guess what this little segment is going to be about is my big Fosphor update that I promised you guys about 2 weeks ago, but the heat wave, the this, the that, the trip, getting stuck in Amsterdam, I have not been sticking to a regular update schedule. So to just quickly fill you in case you're new to the channel and you've just been enjoying the Amsterdam stuff, I like making comics in my spare time. The comic book I'm working on is Fosphor. It's a science fiction comic book. And I have in the past done a round of 100 Days of Making Comics, the little internet challenge set up by Kevin Cross of Monkey Mod fame. that a great many of the people I gotten to know over the years online have also been participating in. We call ourselves the V100s. You can find us all over the place. Facebook, it's got a pretty good page. There's this comic book that we put out together, the Life in Space Anthology. And right now I'm working on my own sci-fi story. And here is about 29 pages of comic book. So there's a couple of pages that I'd like to show you before I dig into my new page 5. This is page 4, as I updated yesterday on the live stream on Instagram with Samurai Ox, who's doing his issue 10 of I Never Forgot, the comic book he's working on. I am going to leave the brand new page 4 for a little bit later. So this is the brand new page 1 of Fosphor. As you can see, I've cleaned up the art a lot compared to those rough Photoshop examples for the whole comic book that I've been making. And so this is Anne making her big introduction, waking up the kids first thing in the morning, showing off that work day on this vessel. And then we go to page 2, which is, as I was explaining earlier to my flatmate here, Eric, I kind of treat the vessel itself as a character. So this is like the big introduction of, you know, you're not in Kansas anymore. This is something familiar, like, you know, we can recognize all these things, but it's very much a makeshift Lost Boys vibe I'm going for. And also just to give you a sense of scale of just how big the ship is that they're on, you know, that they're working in, this factory, if you will. So yeah, people getting to work, having a little chit chat. Quite like these little half pieces. And then page 3, as I revealed yesterday. So Samurai Ox and I are doing a weekly live stream to hold ourselves accountable, following the example of Joshua Kimball and Corey Kerr, Gasbot, Mike Emirates, and Chris McQuinlan, who's teamed up with Marshall Couture. So this is my page 3. So this page I have mixed feelings about. As per usual, this is actually the size of the page, and then I tend to go over, because with Photoshop you can shrink things down. But it just, I don't know, I just love filling up the whole page, you know? It's just a lot of fun, just to mess around. There's a lot of stuff I have to learn, like, you know, like I know how to do these textures kind of, but I've never applied them as such. I'm really happy with the detail here, over here. There's a lot of messiness here that I'm not sure about. Like, it might be better just to black it out. But then, you know, I like doing this kind of black and white art. But I have to keep in mind that, like with the Life in Space comic book, there's plenty of room for improvement, adding the gray tones or even color. I'm still kind of up in the air which one of the two I'm going to do. But as for now, I like where this is going, the line art, you know? I think this is definitely a step up from last year. And so this is going to be page 4. And I'd like to show you how I made this right after this. So as you can see, there's still a little bit to be filled in here. This is like one of those staircases behind a metal grid. It's one of the things I've been dreading the most drawing, so of course I leave that till last. So if I ruin it, then all this work, all the 3 days that I put in is for nothing. So yeah. So I hope you guys like this little sneak peek at the comic book where it's at. I am nowhere near as fast as I would like to be. I've been failing every set of goals I've been setting up with Ox, and so I got to make a couple of his characters. I'll show you one of them actually. Here's my rendition of his character Wrath. First time I bust out the crayons in a very long time, but I quite like how it came out. So yes, I have to calibrate and like set my expectations accordingly now that I know, based on the last 3 weeks of working on the comic book, how fast I actually am. Because I tend to, like when I set my own schedule, I tend to just enlist every spare hour of my waking life into the service of making the comic book, and that's not quite how things tend to work out, because we do get tired, especially when you work full-time, and I do have a girlfriend and she needs some attention too, even though most of the time I'm actually drawing while she's playing the guitar. So that works out really well. But you know, like this whole fantasy of just like, oh, if I have a day off I can just draw for 12 hours. It's like, yeah, sometimes, but I can't maintain that level of productivity like every single day. Like it's just, and then there's the heat wave. So with that being said, I'm still full on track. I really love like working on the comic book every single day. I'm very proud where the art is heading. Of course, I could sit here and nitpick and complain about my own art, trust me, but I do think it's the best comic book art I've produced yet. And so I'm very excited in fixing the problems I see now and simply getting better at it, you know. So stay tuned, because there's more Fosphor coming in the next coming weeks. And with that, I'll show you a little bit, as promised, of how I made that last page before I myself sit down and behind the drawing table and get started on page 5.